All right, we're just waiting on the video to pop up. We should be live. There we are. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, goblins and ghouls, and Minecrafters of all ages. That's not the original intro for Minecraft. Oh well, we're just going to go with it. I am Natanis Likens, and welcome to my redstone and building testing world. I call it the redstone testing world, but the truth is, you can see some stuff off to my right. We do some practice building here too. And this world's existed for a few years, but it's not nearly as diverse as some other like big YouTubers and streamers because we don't really have a lot of time to do things and testing and all that. So we're just here to do a little bit of work today, and it's kind of helping me get over my jitters about actually like doing Minecraft related material again. So I figured I promised I was going to do it yesterday. We didn't do it, and I've just got to try and break myself of saying that we're going to do Minecraft and then not doing it. So we're here today, and as you can tell from my hotbar, we're going to be doing some redstoning. Uh, a little bit. We got something that I want to try, and I've got the idea in my head on what it should look like and how it should work, but we need to do some testing on that, which reminds me I don't have everything that I need in my inventory. We'll worry about that later. Uh, we got pretty much everything we need to set up what I'm thinking of doing. Uh, so let's go over a little bit of what we got going on here for anybody that hasn't been on my channel in a long period of time or has never been here before and doesn't know what any of this is. First and foremost, right here. So okay, where do we start? So that we're not going to talk about the building stuff, but that is a library that I was working on. I've still got the idea in my head. I haven't changed it in a few years. There's issues with it. I just can't think of a good idea how to fix it. This is something that I was testing to try to figure out like how you would get this to work. It's something that I've seen in somebody else's video. We're not going to talk about who. You guys know who I'm obsessed with. I am doing my best to try and not talk about them, but a few of these projects are based on them as a group. So that is something that I was trying to figure out from there. Here, we've got several different bone mill farms. And this was a project that I put together because I was trying to figure out what the fastest way is to create bone mill. And believe it or not, it's actually the fox powered berry farms. And as many times as I've been in this world and come out and everything, we can still go off and like look at some of this just to see, wow, that's loud. Just to see the difference. Okay, this is already full. That doesn't really count. But this is, well, I changed it. This is all fox-powered berry farms here. So, yeah, that doesn't really count. Let's go talk about the sugarcane. So the sugarcane, by this point, has produced 41 bone meal, which isn't a whole lot. It was very little. This is a pumpkin and melon farm over here. Same deal, it's just converting it straight into bone meal. You can see that we've got almost 3 stacks, which, again, because of how long this has existed, that's not a whole lot. Then we got a cactus farm over here, and the problem with cactus farms is they are very loss prone, but you can see that we have just under 6 stacks here. And I'm doing this in order of when I actually built these. So the sugarcane farm was built first, and the idea is each one of these has 64 exactly of whatever they're growing. So it's the best I can come up with a fair measurement because the actual amount that each one of these counts towards creating bone meal is different. So there's going to be like some major variance there. But yeah, the sugarcane farm was built first, and as you can tell, that is probably the slowest. The pumpkin and melon farm was built next, and it's decent. The cactus farm is definitely fast. However, if we come here, this is the last one that I built. This has just been absolutely insane. The fox-powered berry farm is by far the fastest way to get bone meal of these type of farms. Now, obviously, we do have this farm down here, which is, golly, that's so loud. Got to get away from that. Which is basically just a moss farm. Moss farms are very fast, but they've got their own issue where they require bone meal. So I was trying to find a way of making bone meal that doesn't require me using the bone meal that I'm creating, because there was a farm at the time that it used like a piece or two of its own bone meal that it was creating in order to keep the farm running. It didn't work. It's kind of a lie. Like, it does work, but eventually it will not have bone meal and it'll just stop working. You'll have to go put in a new piece, start it up again, and then eventually it'll break again. So, yeah, that particular farm I was not impressed with. So I was trying to design one where I could, feed bone meal in infinitely and not worry about like the setup or anything. I could just leave it going and produce bone meal forever for me. I will say that in my own Let's Play world, I actually use like farmer powered farms. So it works the same as the fox powered berry farms, but the fox powered berry farms are much faster. This was originally a setup for villagers, which honestly was pathetic because there's some issues with villagers and it's changed over the years, so it wasn't working quite as well when I initially set it up. So I just changed it over to foxes, and that whole setup works a lot better. I never got around to doing that anyway. Here I just wanted to test to see what the spread of moss was after you bone mill a piece of moss, and you can see that we've got this kind of area that it goes into, and I built a box around it as a reminder to how far moss spreads. This over here is a stone generator, because the stone generators I was looking at on YouTube videos were not working. They had very fast redstone clocks or repeater clocks, however you want to say that, and they were just too fast for my computer at the time. I don't know about now. I'm not even going to try it because the amount of delay in those is just so little that it was breaking the farm itself. So I had to redesign that, come up with my own variation that is actually a little bit slower, but it's 100% accurate. Like, you never have to worry about it making cobblestone instead of stone. So that's what we got going on there. And this is kind of the setup that I was using to demonstrate this in a video where we were having major issues. You can see here with the traditional setup of 4 repeaters set to 4 ticks, we were still producing cobblestone, and then we weren't even getting any stone in the middle there. So yeah, that didn't work. I came over here and demonstrated it with a few more repeaters, and we were still having an issue. And part of the problem there is that the water moves faster than the lava. So sometimes it will just not work properly. You would think that'd be the opposite because the water's flowing underneath the lava, but there was some kind of issue going on where just literally this one line was just making nothing but cobblestone. So eventually, this has broken since the last time I used it. Uh, we need to fix that at some point, but this one eventually did work, and that was with like, I think it was 16 repeaters total. So yeah, there you go with that. Over here, we got a setup where I was demonstrating the problem with certain people's setups as far as their item filters. And I was like, yeah, you need to set up your item filters in a very specific way. And this is also why I do mine a specific way. So with this kind of setup, you can see right here that all this got lit up, which means that all of these filters broke. And that's why I really suggest, if you're going to do item filters, you need to skip a block between each item filter. Don't do setups like this because it will break it. And that's simply because if you don't have overflow protection, the overflow is going to cause the redstone in the back to activate, which is going to activate the one next to it, and then the one next to that, and the one next to that, and on down. So really, you need to separate your item filters. Simple as that. Over here, I was trying to demonstrate, like, how far signals go with redstone and everything. We got a couple of different functions going on down here to show, like, how a comparator works, and you can kind of see, like, what's going on here. And it's just comparing the signal coming in from the backside to the signal coming in from the left or right, or both. So it was just kind of a demonstration of that. This was me, like, I was trying to figure out how combination lock works, so I looked up a tutorial on combination locks, yeah, I don't have a clue how this works. I couldn't rebuild this if I wanted to. I couldn't make my own version of that for sure. Over here, we've got my basalt farm that I was working on, and I went through a lot of iterations trying to figure out like exactly how to get this going. And then this is a TNT duper, which I am perfectly fine with TNT dupers. Simply because if you're using TNT to collect blocks, you're going to go through a lot of TNT, and it would be far better just to dupe it than trying to keep up with how much TNT you need. Especially considering that sand has no renewable source. Honestly, Mojang, quit adding stupid stuff. What I'd really like you to add is probably the crusher from any of the mod packs out there, where you can crush stone into gravel and then gravel into sand. We need an infinite source of sand, is what I'm saying. We need an infinite source. And considering you can make an infinite amount of cobble, why not just give us a crusher? I mean, you gave us a crafter, so give us a crusher. Okay, from there, that stuff kind of came later, but let's go talk about this real quick. This is my own custom shulker box loader. This is the design that I came up with. This is not based on anybody else's. This is literally mine. If it's similar to anybody's, that's pure coincidence. Because I was trying to figure out this on my own. This is about the time that I was really mentally getting involved in Redstone and being like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this will work. And now I know that this will work and you can do this. It was well after that monstrosity over there, but yeah, by this point I was really getting good at Redstone and coming up with my own stuff instead of following tutorials. And again, because of things going on over there, I started making my own Redstone because I wasn't trusting anybody's videos anymore, because anytime I copied their stuff, it wouldn't work properly. So over here, this is my own version of a flower farm. So instead of the shifting platform of dirt that it shifts, then produces bone meal on it, and it produces flowers, then it shifts, breaking all that stuff. This is a flush flower farm. So basically, behind these trapdoors is water, and when the trapdoors are released, because that redstone up there is on, causing them to shut. I know it doesn't look like it's shut. Well, actually, it does. You know what I'm trying to say there. So then the water rushes out and it'll flush all of the flowers and seeds and everything in here. Now, if you can't tell from the border here, this is specifically for getting. Ooh, uh, what is it called? It's the flower from the Pale Garden. Uh, this thing, eye blossoms. So closed and open. That's specifically what this was for, was to make to generate these flowers and everything in a pale garden. So yeah, that's the system that I came up with there. We'll talk about, yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about this. So I've removed the name uh, for reasons, but I don't want to be associated with that group, so we're not going to say anything else about them. And this was a project that I threw together because I didn't like the solution that somebody else came up with. I thought that their solution was kind of lame. And I also wanted to figure out, like, how would you open up a door using an item? And this is kind of what I came up with here. And we got a couple of pieces here that we can kind of show this. I've shown this a million times, but we'll just go ahead and demonstrate this. So you put it in here. Let's just say that this is a 1 day pass. So it'll allow you to go through for 1 day. That all opens up, and you notice that we do not get the ticket back, our pass back, because it's a 1 day pass. Now, we go over here, and this is a VIP pass. We put it in there. It opens up. It's really slow, and we get our VIP pass back. This is all just done with filters. That's literally all it is. It's just filters, and the VIP pass goes through a filter, comes out up there. The 1 day pass goes through a filter, and then it gets destroyed somewhere over here. I don't remember where. Somewhere around here. It actually. Okay, no, this version does not destroy the pass. The test version that's out there actually destroys it. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was a project that I really loved working on and everything. It never got used by the person it was intended for. So yeah, it's just kind of sitting here. Still a really cool thing. I like showing that off every now and then because that door is amazing. This is a complex mess. Simple as that. So what this is my first attempt at the crafter to make something that can make multiple different blocks. And the simple way that I did this is we've got water channels here with blocks in places. And the way it works is it will send whatever material. So we're using diorite here. It'll send diorite down these into one of these different channels. And that channel is based on whichever item we selected, which I don't remember where I put all the stuff for this. This was the initial trial version, so this is not the finished version. But yeah, this is a colossal mess, and this system right here is capable of making polished stairs, slabs, and walls. We got andesite there, but clearly we were looking at diorite. So actually, this one's only capable of making 3. I don't remember how I set this up, if I even set it up, because I don't see. Yeah, okay, so this is not the finished version. This is one of the early prototypes of the system that I came up with. There's a much more compact version out there, but it's way more complicated than this redstone you see here. I'm not going to go over how each one of these works because when I talk about it, it tends to get lost in translation, in my opinion. This is a more complete version over here. And as you can see here, I've got walls right here, so that tells you that you can get diorite walls here. And then you got slabs here, so we check that. You can get slabs. And then over here, you can get polished diorite. Again, there is a more complex, like smaller version of what I've got going on here. Again, this is all just based on sending blocks through water channels to a specific crafter that is already pre-set up. The more complex version that some people have made, uh, it's not it's not set up like I do it because I set it up to make specifically one item. So here you can see that we've got this walled off here so that we can get the blocks right here to make walls. The more complex version, they came up with a way of using buttons to send through the system, and the buttons block out specific areas so that you create whatever item shape that you need. Um, I think the button idea is really cool. I don't know how you would do that though, because of how the crafter works. I've seen the prototype of that, and it's just absolutely insane. This was a early version of my shulker box loader system. This is not the finished product here. That's an early version. It's still basically the same. Uh, yeah, that's a wall that doesn't really matter. I don't remember what this is. Oh yeah, okay. We're not going to talk about that. That was me trying to showcase like the stupidity of somebody on uh, r/technical Minecraft. They made something that was overly complex. I was like, you could make something a lot smaller than what you got there. You've got something that's so complex for no reason. As you can tell from some of my early stuff there, like my redstone and circuits and everything just goes everywhere. It works, and it's like just a mess of where stuff is going in signals and everything. But you can see that redstone mess is actually not nearly as complex as what some people do. It is insanity to go through and like watch what all that does. This here is actually one of my early like big builds. This is probably when my brain started really going redstone crazy. I've talked about this before. I've showcased it in a lot of things. This is a coordinate display system. It was essentially meant to be a in-game version of Battleship using nothing but redstone. It's got some flaws. One of the flaws is that you cannot have any kind of marker in the same location as another. And what I mean by that is, let's go over here. We have this light lit right here on this green row. We cannot have another light in the green row. So effectively here, we can only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at any given time. We can only have 9 lights on at any given time in this vast area. So I never came up with a way to fix that. And because of how much time I spent working on this, I didn't really see a need to do anything with it. I was like, okay, this is done. It's really cool. It works. Uh, I don't know what the point is. And technically, right now, it doesn't work. There was some update some time ago broke it. There's a section, I think it's like right here, that just doesn't work anymore. I don't know why. I haven't gone through to like look, but it just doesn't work. Down here, you can see that this was early testing, trying to figure out like how do I transfer a signal from one given area to another. And this is all like precursor to the binary system that I had over there, because I had a problem of, if I'm sending a signal to a very specific coordinate, how do I make sure that only that coordinate lights up? And the way I did this was like, that's why we got one side color coded and the other side is not. There's supposed to be numbers up here. So I think it was like 16 spaces. I don't really remember. We're not going to sit here and count them. But let's say that we had like spot 6, which would be like right here, and it's magenta. So that particular light right there is lit up. Let's say we had that. So how do I keep all the other magenta ones from lighting up? And how do I keep all the other 6s from lighting up? So I had to get kind of clever with how do I send the signal to that specific spot. Um, and because I'm not a what is it? Redstone computing person. Like I don't know how that stuff works. I had to figure out on my own, like, how do I send a signal to one specific location? That's why we got a mess of observers up here. That's how I was transferring the signals, because I didn't know at the time about rails. Which let's fly over here real quick just to demonstrate. You can send signals through powered rails so that you go to a specific location. Anyway, I didn't know how to do that at the time, and thinking about now, you could definitely change this out for powered rails and fix some of the issues that I had with this, especially like the speed, because this sending a signal in this is extremely slow. So yeah, this over here, these things right here, those are just me trying to come up with a color palette. And these over here are experiments with a new style of cow farm. Uh, there was an interesting video that somebody else posted a while back where you put a few cows into a pen like this, and then the baby cows like are forced out underneath these cauldrons, and when they grow up, they will catch on fire because these cauldrons are full of lava. And they were like, okay, let's see who can create a farm using this mechanic. Uh, the winning farm I didn't really care for. It's kind of stupid in my opinion. But these were my attempts at like making that farm work. And this is actually the AFK rail. So you would sit in the minecart. Hang on. So you would sit in the minecart here, Let's turn that on. Face towards these cows, and you would basically cheat the game where you do the whole reset your textures, holding down right click with wheat, so that you were constantly feeding these cows here. Uh, it does work perfectly fine. I never saw a reason to actually use this. It's kind of one of those weird niche farms that I don't think is necessary anymore. So yeah, this is kind of a interesting project that I came up with, or my version of the suggested project I came up with. So over here, there is another Minecrafter out there, and I don't mind mentioning him. So we'll talk about this. So he made a copper aging machine called David. This is actually, and again, I don't mind mentioning him. This is actually Pixel Riff's idea. This is not his design. This is my design. I don't know how similar they are. I took his principles. I did not watch his video on how to make it. I completely made this myself using the principles and ideas that he talked about in his video when he was showcasing this to somebody else. Again, we're not going to talk about the who. So this is all me like testing and seeing if I could get this to work and how we send it down and how we get it back and everything. And then over here you got my fully complete version where it actually sends them down, and then once it's fully aged it sends them back. So this works incredibly well. It doesn't work so well if you like increase the tick time. For some reason, the tick time actually breaks it. So, yeah, this great project. I love working on this, and it's absolutely incredible. I've got a lot of kudos for making this because, again, this is based on somebody else's principles. It's my own version. This stuff here, I actually don't remember what this is. I think this was me trying to see like how do I take a couple of different inventories and like break them up into crafting and all that. I'm not sure. Uh, that over there, we'll talk about that in a second. But from there, we got to go on, and the whole reason I made that, we got to go on and talk about this. This was me demonstrating it too. There's a whole video out there of me talking about like how do we detect it and how do we like take the changes and everything. And again, this is all based on the principles that he outlined, and I just took and went my own direction with. Over here, there I did a Mythbusters version. Like we've even got the Mythbusters right here. So Jamie Heineman and Adam Savage, uh, right there for you. So I did my whole myth busting thing where I was like, okay, what is the actual fastest way to age copper? Because there was somebody out there saying that the fastest way to age copper is actually to have already aged copper underneath uh, copper that hasn't aged yet, because then it's going to trick it into aging faster, which is actually a lie. It is a straight up lie from that person. Um, the best way I can think of to describe this is the way that the copper is programmed is that the copper is going to look 4 blocks in all directions around it to see if there's another copper block there. And if it's a yes or a no, then it's going to check the age of that copper. And then it's going to say whether or not this copper block is aged. So in this instance right here, it's going to check, and it's going to check in a random direction and see if there's another copper block there. And it's going to go like, let's say to this one at its limit and say, is there a copper block there? Yes, there's a copper block there. Okay, what age is it? And then it's going to be like, okay, so if this one's that age, are we going to age? So there is effectively about a 25% chance that this copper block is going to age if it's next to another copper block, especially if it hasn't aged yet. And I'm kind of making these numbers up, but you get the idea. So when a copper block that hasn't aged at all is next to one, there's only a 25% chance that it will age. Now, if you get a copper block next to a fully aged copper block, it's going to check again, is there a copper block near me? Okay, yes. Is that copper block aged? Yes. What is its age? It's it's at an age of 4. Are we going to age? Yes or no? So you've got a 50-50 chance because it's looking for a copper block. You got another 50-50 chance for what age is it, sort of. Uh, Again, I'm making up these numbers as I go just so I can explain it. And then you got a 50-50 chance on whether or not it's actually going to age. So on this one, we're going to say that there's actually about a 75% chance that it's going to age simply because it's checking this block and saying, yes, this is already fully aged. I mean, that's the easiest way I can do it. Over here, however, and this is why this is so much faster, it's going to check around it in a 4 block radius and be like, is there a copper block near me? No. Okay, skip that. Age. It's 100% chance that this is going to age. So this is actually, all of these blocks are going to age a hell of a lot faster than this one. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I saw that it blinked off of OBS for a second. That was weird. So yeah, I was able to debunk that and show that this out here aged way faster than this. This is still pretty fast, don't get me wrong, but it is not nearly as fast as spreading them out 4 blocks. So this method with the machine that I created over there, it's just far superior as to how fast you can age copper in it. So that's what that was all about. This is a failed monstrosity. So this was me trying to see like how many farms could I hook up to a bone mill farm. Uh, the reality is 1. That's the max you can do because you're just not making bone meal fast enough. That is unfortunately the reality. It just, you cannot make bone meal fast enough. You This is a massive mob farm, so we getting skeletons and all sorts of things in there to spawn and fall down it. Unfortunately, it just does not keep up with the demands of like this farm here, which is apparently running. I don't remember where my off switch is. I even tried to use this. Okay, so that should be fine there. I even tried to use the overflow on this as a method of adding more bone meal back into the system. Again, this just isn't fast enough. You cannot get bone meal fast enough to run more than 1 farm at a time. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. You don't get enough bone meal from the bones that you get from skeletons, so it was a failure. Over here, this setup is okay. This one is me trying to do like an item elevator for the nether because you can't use water. And it has some problems that I was trying to figure out. Like, even no matter what I tried, you cannot properly get this to work. Uh, there is going to be a little bit of items getting stuck in the system no matter what you do. So, as hard as I tried to get this to work to where all the items go through, it's just not going to. However, you can still use this method with the glasses, an old method where you make the items flow up a block. This still works perfectly fine. It does have a slight issue though, and that is sometimes they will not make their way into the hopper. So this, you will lose items with that. So unfortunately, that's just how it is. You can watch as many videos as you want that claim that it will shoot all the items up. No, that's a lie. It does not work that way. I've tried multiple times. I've tried multiple combinations. Uh, it just doesn't work. There's items that will get stuck at the bottom of it for whatever reason. I never figured out why. No matter what kind of combination of blocks I tried, even doing my traditional like comparator into observer setup, it still for some reason gets blocks stuck. I don't understand that. So any video that talks about, this is a perfect system and it goes all the way, no, that's a lie. I tried it like several times. This here,
This is me like messing around. Like I was watching a YouTuber named Matt Wings or Matt Batwings. Wow, I said that horribly wrong. And he was talking about computational redstone and everything, and I was taking a few notes on it because I don't know if you've noticed, any of the circuits are not traditional circuits. They are like, this is how we can send a signal. There's a lot of traditional circuits that I just don't use, um, like T flip-flops. I wouldn't know how to make a T flip-flop. I mean, I've got an idea on how to make a T flip-flop because of copper bulbs, but I mean, the traditional T flip-flop, I wouldn't have a clue how to make. Okay, over here, this is my binary system. Again, a YouTuber that we will not mention had a binary factory set up in Minecraft, and I sat there and I sat there and I sat there. I asked questions of that person, like, how does this work? And they were supposed to put out a video. They claimed they were going to put out a video of showcasing how this works. They never did, which bugged the heck out of me because at that time I was getting more and more into like redstone logic and everything. So I just went to town trying to figure out, like, how would you program a redstone thing to send a signal based on a different signal. And the whole concept of doing like binary in Minecraft. And again, this is actually before I started learning the computational stuff. So the problem I had is, again, it's the same thing as the display screen. So if I've got a signal here of, what would this be? 521. Yeah, a signal of 21. How do I keep it from activating the same line that is a 16, a 4, a 1, a 5, a 17, or even a 20? Like, how do I keep it from activating all of these lines? Like, we only wanted to activate this one because these are the lights that are on. Um, and as you can see, like, all of these here correspond to at least one of those up there, possibly even two, but we got three of these. So how do I keep the signal from going through on all of these and only have this one be the one that's activated? Eventually, what I came up with is kind of ingenious, in my opinion, and that is all the other lights that shouldn't be on send a signal to what I call a blocker. And basically, it blocks the signal from being able to go through. So you can see here that all of these are detecting where the signal is originating from. Technically, this would activate with any of them. Now that I'm looking at this, this one's technically not right. But yeah, you get the idea. Like, I found a way to. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, no, 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 that's perfectly fine. So this line here is basically what is telling that torch to turn off, which means that this particular line isn't going to activate. And then this redstone tower is where, if only this one is activated, it's the only thing that's going to activate those. And I did this all without even using uh, and and gates, or gates, and all that stuff. It's literally my own design here, as far as like what gets activated and what doesn't get activated. Um, Again, this is before I even knew about and gates and or gates, which is kind of odd to say because I did know about them, but I didn't know how to build them. So all of this is based on just my own thinking of how logic should work with a system like this. So yeah, this is all just uh, pure thought muscle is how I'll say it. Pure intelligence. We'll leave it at that. So all of that activates like that. We've only got a few of these hooked up to any kind of redstone thing. This one, again, another person we're not going to talk about was asking, like, how do we get
the crafter to blink its little lights on. So let's go down here and kind of turn one of these on. Give it a second. And we're just going to leave that on. And then turn that on. And you'll see that this one here is the only one that activates. Okay, and that causes the lights on the crafter to start blinking. Okay, we could do that on the other ones, but this was just a way of me showcasing like how would you get the lights to blink. You need some kind of redstone signal bouncing around to do that. So that's one iteration of it. This is another where we've got kind of a timer here, so this will blink on a much longer setup. And we can go down here and activate this one too. So now you can see that this one is off. And you can see that the lights are on and they just turned off. And this is just a redstone timer here, a hopper clock. So the lights are on, and wait for it, and they're off. It's very slow blinking, and it's just based on how many items you have in the hopper there. So this one over here is a looping signal. So it'll go through and pass to these blocks and then just deactivate, and then it'll loop again. So we can go down here and do the same thing. So that's 2. We got to activate 3. So it's going to be those 2. And all this is just you do the math to figure out like what spot you want to activate. And I even went through and labeled all these. So this one up here, we come up here, and you can see that that just blinked. It blinked again, and again, and again. Yep. So you get the idea. Like each one of these is a different method of how you get the lights to blink. Uh, and then this one I set up to work with my crafting setup for a crafter. So this is not the completed version. This is just me building one here to hook it into this system to see if I could get a farm or a crafting build to actually work. And that's exactly what this is. I just changed the redstone just a little bit to get the crafting mechanism to work. And this is supposed to be making dispensers, but is currently off, and hopefully it will work right because I see that everything's already in there. Um, yeah, we can talk about that in a second. So I don't have the original like setup for all this because I went through a lot of like trial and error trying to get this set up and everything. But yeah, you can see that there's redstone lines going everywhere. It's got its own built-in backup system, which will turn it off if any one of the ingredients is missing in the chest. So it does have a slight problem with that because we're taking the signal from the chest. If the hoppers are full with stuff, it technically could continue crafting, but I mean, there's no other way for me to get a signal from all the way down here at these droppers. There just isn't because we got a system down here. These are actually hoppers. I don't know why I did hoppers on that one because I think I did this one over here with that one with a water channel. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So this all is to make dispensers. I was trying to think of items that are difficult to make, and dispensers are notoriously a pain in the butt because you need bows which don't stack, and that's what this portion up here is. This creates bows right here, and all of this is just to make sure that we've got material for bows. So it's keeping track of whether or not we got string. If this hopper runs out of string, this crafter will never activate. And the reason we do that is because we've got no way of telling it, hey, I only want string to go here. The only way we can do anything at all with this is by detecting whether or not there's items in either one of these. Um,
technically that should be pouring sticks into there because this is not full. I must have a cross signal somewhere. Oh no, I see what's happening. Yeah, see, now you can see that it's filling up the sticks. We're missing a bit of redstone there. That's interesting that we are missing redstone. So yeah, that's a dispenser setup, and I believe this one is a piston setup. Yeah, this is a basic piston setup. So both of these you could just auto craft using this setup. The setups are identical. The only thing that changes is what is in the chest back here. And these are in a very specific order because of how the crafter fills in its items. And we got demonstrations here on how we can detect a signal from a crafter to tell whether or not it's full. And then over here, this is kind of me demonstrating like these are the things that we can make without extra inputs or having to do anything special with multiple items. So all of this stuff, it just requires one item. So in order to get prismarine blocks, bricks, all we got to do is put in prismarine until it's full, detect the signal, and it'll craft that. So all of this is exactly like that. There's a bunch of different things that you don't need any special redstone for. You just need a very simple setup, and you can just infinitely craft it. And then over here, this was an interesting thing that I found, and I was trying to figure out like how do we get this to work for us. Uh, Basically, each one of these is detecting how much is in a inventory. So you can see we got 4 stacks of stuff there, and this third light is on here. We got 3 stacks on, and it's got the second light on, and then over here we have literally just one block in there that's turning that on. Unfortunately, you can't really detect a single stack. It will detect however much of a stack for the one. I found this and I thought it was really interesting, and exactly how this works is absolute voodoo to me because I don't understand like how this is working because if all of this is off, why are these the only two that there's? I mean, I get it. This is not on, so yeah, it's just it's absolute voodoo to me that this works. I don't remember why I did this. To be perfectly honest, I can't think of why I did that. This here is again me showcasing like we can detect how much is in a shulker box, and I was trying to figure out exactly when do we get a full 15 strength signal from a shulker box. And as you can see, if we go all the way to the very last one and then don't put a diorite in there, it will go all the way to 14 and then not activate the 15th one. I put way too many signal blocks here or lanterns, so it's got a little bit too much. This is pretty much the same thing, and me showcasing like, okay, so how do we send a signal? What is the fastest way? And blah blah blah. This is just different things that I was showcasing because I was trying to explain how my wood farm and mud farm works because there's red ropes, there's redstone everywhere, and this stuff just goes everywhere, and we're detecting like a whole bunch of different things and signals going everywhere. But basically you get in here, you stand like right here, and you hold the trees and the come on brain, uh bone mill. So basically you can do, where's the actual button? It's there. You can hold these here, put it down, bone mill it. So we just saw a tree grow. Hit that button. It's going to push that out. You saw the stone come, and then these 2 pistons will activate to break anything that's sitting on it. And then after it pushes, it goes. The wood goes down this
area here where the wood is getting pushed, and then it get pushed over and into our blast chamber where you can see right here that it is coming out there. And we kind of had to build a barrier there because it was breaking the wood so far out that way that it was breaking the redstone because of how explosions work in Minecraft. So yeah, that's how that works. And then over here, you can see that we've got 3 pistons there, and it will only push the blocks forward 1 when a rooted dirt gets over that redstone torch. So basically what's going to happen is that redstone torch is going to pass the signal into that repeater and then on, and everything activates. And then we've got one side here is both of these sides are making mud. So we just got an infinite source of water bottles there. You can see that this is completely full, and it'll take the water bottles, uh, try to make it'll make it'll take the empty glass bottles, turn them into water bottles, but because there's no room in here for it, it's going to eject the water bottle into our little water elevator, and then it's going to go down across here down into the hopper, which is going to put it back in here. So it just infinitely cycles water bottles because we can't really control where these water bottles are going to come from, and we have to fill it up because if we don't, it will keep the water bottle in there. Now, technically, you could do like that, but I didn't see a reason to. You just fill it up completely and you'll never have an issue. That is a lot of glass bottles that you have to make, but it's not a big deal. You basically got once you got it completely filled, you never have to add any glass bottles to it. You're never going to lose any. It's just going to infinitely cycle them. And then if you don't know how to make clay out of mud, all you got to do is have a block and then a dripstone pointed down towards the ground, and it'll effectively dry out. It'll suck the water out of it, turning it into clay. That's basically how that works. And I just made like a long enough area here that before this gets activated again, you should have some time for it to change into clay. So yeah, that's how that all works. And it gets pushed along and up, and then pushed along and up, and pushed along and up into another blast chamber over here, and it comes out here. We do have a slight problem with the TNT blowing up blocks too far back. Uh, I never figured out like how to compensate for that because we're doing like a vertical. I'm sorry, we're doing a horizontal push, whereas this is a vertical push. So it's got slightly different problems as far as the mechanics with TNT, but it works perfectly fine. You do gather stuff, and you can kind of see that here. We got clay balls there, rooted dirt, and mud. So we're collecting all 3 of those in one system. Uh, Absolutely love that. That's yet another project that came straight from me. It wasn't anybody else. Okay, moving on from there. Why are we actually here? What do I have these? There's actually something I've been thinking about doing, and I want to work on it a little bit and see if we can get this to work. And then we've got some other things that I want to do. And oh my gosh, we've already spent like an hour looking at some of these projects. Wow. So we're going to come down here. Let's go right about here. Yeah, that'll be high enough. So what we want to do is that and this, because we're going to activate this. This is going to be another system where we got 2 different sources of material coming to activate this thing. And then I am going to take a redstone signal off of those. So we need this here. And that's literally going to tell me whether or not there's stuff in there I did not get.
a chest. Okay, we don't need that right this second. And we'll just act like that's being filled up by something. We don't need to do that, really. It's just there, so we got the signal. So what we need that piston. Let's just do this for now. So when that piston gets activated, it's going to push that observer into that one. Both of these are going to start activating, and it's going to cause the signal to bounce, which is going to cause this to craft. However, we're not going to worry about that, but you can see right there that that would be crafting if we had everything properly there. We need, this is why I wanted to come here, because I don't know exactly how to build this. This is a AND gate. So we need to have two signals coming into that. That will basically say, hey, okay, cool. I don't know how that happened. That shouldn't have been picking up a redstone signal at all. That's weird. Okay. And down here, so in order for this to happen, those got to come on like that. However, we're not done because we need a second AND gate. This one, we're going to hook that side up to something else, but the second one, let's see, we'll have a 2 division there, so technically it would be here. Um, ooh, yeah, no, okay. So that's how we would get the signal there. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be fine there. So this is going down here. Like I said earlier, I've already got the idea for how this should work in my head. So that'll activate that side, telling it, okay, we're good. We can use material there. Okay, we're going to have to, this isn't going to be able to go straight up there. So that's fine. And this signal is going to have to loop around here. So we're going to put a repeater there and a repeater there. That should, let's just make sure real quick. Nope, it doesn't reach. So let's just put another repeater right there. Okay, perfect. And then let's make sure here. Okay, we're good. So there's our first AND gate. So if neither of these hoppers are full, it will not activate the system. So we're good there. So from here, we need to do something else. I didn't get any glass. I don't really care like where this is actually going to end up. You can always use like water sources to send it where you want to. Like we could completely take this in a different direction, but for now I'm thinking like we're going to send it down here. And shush. Technically I don't need you. So we'll put a dispenser there. Full of shulker boxes. And then that one goes there. And then I've learned my lesson about doing that. That needs to be there. That goes there. I don't have, that's fine. We'll do this a different way. We'll put it here. Nope, it needs to be in the back. That's the wrong location. I just set that up in the wrong place. So we got that there, and then that's going to go into this block, which is going to go here into there. Boink. 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 And then we need actually I don't like using those. I like using the iron ones. Just because. Actually, we need to take the signal here. I don't think you actually need that repeater there. I just have it's interesting with repeaters because sometimes they'll catch a signal, or sometimes the signal will go through the block if you just use redstone. Sometimes it won't.
So I've just gotten in the habit of just doing repeaters to pass a signal through a block instead of doing anything else because it's unreliable as to whether or not it's going to work. So just stick a repeater there. These are on 4, so that should all be fine. Now, the one thing that I really wanted to do here is we're going to take a signal from here. As long as this has got shulker boxes in it, um, this should work with that. Oh my gosh, we got to send that signal up there. We're going to do it on this side. I think we're good, but we're just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so as long as that has shulker boxes in it, this system will just continuously run. The moment we run out of shulker boxes, though, it's going to shut the system off. There's nothing I can really do about the fact that we may have a shulker box here. It's just going to be a way of letting me know, hey, I'm out of shulker boxes. And in fact, we could even like take this signal here and pass it along somewhere else to like a lighting system that gives us a warning, a heads up that we're out of shulker boxes in this particular system. This has a lot of red ropes everywhere. It's a little bit of a mess, but whatever. There is a problem with trying to pass a redstone signal down versus going up. Going up is far easier than going down. So, yeah. And hopefully this all works. This is all off right now because we don't have anything in these hoppers. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to turn this off. And then I need gunpowder and paper. Is that not right? Oh, it's I've got too many there. That's what's going on. So we got that going on there, and this system will stay off for now. Let's go ahead and knock these off just so I can fill this up. And I want to do a test of this side over here. So we are literally just going to put one stack of gunpowder there. So you can see that that went down. I didn't think about this. That's fine. Okay. It'll only pass a signal of 1, so we gotta we gotta put a lot more there. So all right. So paper should only ever go there, and then gunpowder should go here. And hopefully it doesn't run out of gunpowder to the point that it empties a slot. And so all this is set up. So the moment I put this hopper on there, it should kick on. Yep, there you go. It's producing rockets. Unfortunately, we can't open that shulker box with the system, the shulker box loader that I came up with. That's just something I've got no way of fixing. The other problem is like that it sometimes lands there, so that really needed to be a hopper. Actually, we can fix this real quick.
And we will never know if that's actually full. Okay, so this did shut off already. Yeah, okay, that's what I was worried about. That is exactly what I was worried about. It didn't shut off soon enough. So we also need to do the same kind of trigger mechanism where this gets shut off. If one side doesn't have material, the other side needs to shut off. Okay, no, that's not going to work. We need let's just use obsidian for now. It's a non-movable block. All right. This is the wrong side. I'm trying to think, like, we gotta avoid activating that. Oh wait, this would actually go here. But then this needs to go here. So that one goes there. This. Ooh. Oops. So this needs to be a signal inversion. All right, let's make sure that that doesn't activate that. Okay, it doesn't. And so we need to invert this one as well. And I left that blank because we may need that there. Okay, so both of those are now hooked in. Why, what the heck? Hmm, what? Okay, no, this does not need to be. Okay, we're back. Okay, so clearly we got a little problem here. Because of the speed that this is causing, that's not gonna, this isn't gonna work. It will eventually run out of, and then run out right here. Yeah, and we probably produced the wrong type of rockets. Okay. Um, okay. That's a problem. So this shulker box down here that I can't access, I guarantee you has the wrong. Let's see here. This has got. We're just gonna let that go. I guarantee you this isn't gonna activate. Um, we're going to go see if we can figure this out. I guarantee you there's probably like flight duration 2s in there, so that's not gonna work properly. So how do we keep this? Like this setup should work. The problem is these are causing a redstone signal to happen way faster than items can go into the crafter. So we need to slow the signal down. This isn't going to work. We literally need to make the signal slow down. So we need to create a pulsing signal. Yeah, okay, that's. I'm not going to worry about that right this second. The only way I can come up with off the top of my head to make a pulsing signal is exactly the way I've done it for like forever. But this setup, like we're kind of we kind of built ourselves into a corner because we got all of this over here. how do we get a signal into that? We could, like, take the signal out and go up with it. Okay, so we could do like that. We got a problem there. Obviously, we can't do a torch tower. At least not right there. So what I'm thinking about doing, we're just going to do this a tried and true method that I've used for like forever. Yeah, this is going to be a redstone mess, but I am like I'm having to work out the logistics of this because so that will activate this coming from here, which is caused by this. Whoops, that's not right. We need that to be there. Send it there. That goes around, activates that. Um, actually, this was fine. We're putting a delay there because we don't want the signal to be on for like forever. And as you can see, that creates a pulse. However, all right. So that creates our pulse. We want it to be off. So that torch needs to be off like that. So 1, 2, that should be off. Okay. So we need, actually that is perfect right there. All right, brilliant. So now, in order to activate this, so that's all we need there. Let's take that out. So that's now completely full. Let's just go ahead and test. Why? Okay. Okay, let's try this again. I screwed that all up. So that should activate, sending the signal through there. So now we got a looping signal. Okay. That's fine. That worked just perfectly fine. However, what happens? Yeah, let's do like that. So that activates. We're spitting out rockets. Now, I want to point out that this would never actually happen once you got this set up properly. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so technically this shouldn't have an issue if this is all properly filled. Shouldn't. So there shouldn't be any more of that. Okay, let's reset here. And so paper's only going into that one location. We're not worried about that. We want to, let's say we're running out of, should start, okay. All right, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Again, perfectly fine. I got no issue with that. And it's actually filling up a small amount.
And what's interesting to me, I don't know if anybody's caught this, it remembers what the last slot was it put it in and goes to the next one. So see how we got 39 here, 40, 40? We weren't fast enough to see that, but it put it into the one that only had 39. So 36, 35, 35. It should go into that one first. Yeah, and we didn't quite see that, but that's interesting that it remembers exactly when to do that. So I feel like we could, on top of what we got going on here, we probably could make another system that dispenses exactly a full stack. However, in this case, we could make another system just to keep this full that dispenses a full stack of gunpowder, full 3 stacks. That's highly possible that we could do that. And I am noticing that this is getting lower and lower and lower as we're sitting here testing. I mean, there's no way for me to detect if these are full. All I can do is detect if whether or not it's there. And right now we seem to be good, but I want to see what happens. Because there is a potential that this is still going to break. And I'm willing to bet it's going to break. Like, when I put this next stack in, I guarantee this should break. Okay, maybe not on that one. Let's see on this one. Yep, there it goes. Okay. Hmm. So what we would need, there's no way of, because of how the crafter works, there's no way of fixing that issue. If it runs out of gunpowder, it is going to break. This is why I wanted to test this whole setup, because I knew that we could automate the crafting of it. The problem with it is, how do we prevent it from causing this kind of issues? I knew this was going to be a thing. I didn't know how bad the problem was going to be, though. Clearly, it is a little bit of an issue. There's not really anything I can think of to get around that either. That's that's a interesting problem. Because again, the only thing I can detect out of the crafter is whether or not it has items in there. I cannot detect uh, what the item is. I cannot detect if it's a possible crafting setup. So if anything like this happens, it just automatically breaks the machine. There's no way around it. Okay, this should have filled up, but I'm guessing. Okay, it didn't. Okay. We somehow did not get any.
uh, firework rocket 3s in there. That's interesting. 2. They were all 3s. So that clearly works just fine. I knew that part wasn't going to be a problem. It was actually using the crafter for this that was going to be a problem because I've tested this before, and doing shaped things is always a much more painful process. The only thing I can think of is that we need a delay. But the problem with the delay is if we delay the activation of it so that stuff filters down through the hopper before the system activates, then the then deactivating it is going to have the same problem. We're not going to be able to deactivate it fast enough. Okay, and let's just demonstrate what I'm talking about here. Okay, so we got quite a bit of delay there. I thought I put all those. So quite a bit of delay there. It shouldn't be a major issue for the uh, gunpowder to filter down. So let's just go ahead and do that. And you'll see that this won't activate right away. And see all the gunpowder went in. Okay, that seemed to have worked just fine, actually. Oh, nope, it broke. The moment it got more gunpowder, it broke. Oh, and that just created level 2 rockets. So I guarantee it broke this portion this time. We'll worry about that in a second. And that's the same thing. We're gonna have the problem on the other side too. If we run out of paper, then gunpowder is gonna get in there, and we're gonna have an issue. Uh, the delay, the delay part seemed to work fine. The problem is that it's still once we get it into the hopper, we've got we don't have like this system here that shuts off the other side isn't fast enough. We really need some more delay in the activation of it. But if I put any delay coming out of there, actually coming out of there, it wouldn't be that bad. The problem is that this one is mostly downhill. So it's not, we don't have as many places to put repeaters on this side. The only way I could do that is if we change this to be identical and feed down into these from each of their sides. So this one feeds directly into that side, and that one feeds directly into this side. Now, granted, this AND gate is not the proper one. This is. So we would have to put it like back here somewhere, and then we're off center. So one side's still going to be a couple blocks longer than the other.
but I don't think that that would fix the issue. The issue the issue lies with the speed of hoppers and how crafters work. Because the moment we get the moment we get any kind of item into the hopper, it's going to send a signal out and be like, hey, I've got stuff in there. We have no way of detecting uh, we can't speed it up fast enough to push things. So if this hopper here's got stuff in it going into here, we've got no way of keeping that off until it fills up its one slot. There's no way to tell it, hey, I need this slot to be nothing but gunpowder. I can't control that. It's going to put whatever the hoppers are pushing into it. Um, and unfortunately, we can't have it do like one system, like spit out a bunch of a given item in a row. Now, if we did a smaller version of this over here, it would be fine. But that has other. We got disconnected and we're already reconnected. So yeah, that's a little bit of an issue. So this would work so long as it never runs out of material. Yeah. This, yeah. It, are you going to stay connected? You keep breaking, you keep disconnecting on me. So as long as we never have anything break, it should be fine. Wow, the stream is like really, really behind now. It was all the way back at me introducing some of the things that I built. Yeah, I don't think this would be a major issue. No, we're going to have an issue here because I'm stupid. The only other possibility is slowing down how fast it gets the signal. Because this is actually a problem. Oops. So if we could I found out the hard way that that doesn't work. That could work. I've got no way to actually look at the... So that's full now. We accidentally broke this, so... just temporary. Let's break that. And then put this back. Now, the problem with doing this is, yes, it's going to be very, very slow. But I don't think this will break it. And that's one of the things I'm finding a lot with Redstone. This is why I started doing my own things, is everybody wants it to be really, really fast. The problem with it being really, really fast is it's really, really delicate. It's kind of like the idea of going faster than light. Um, First off, you're not going to be able to ever go faster than light. And second off, you go in, if you can go as fast as light,
you're going to be very, very fragile. If you hit even a micro piece of something, it's going to destroy you. So what I found a lot with redstone is the slower a redstone machine goes, the better it works. You don't have to worry about it as much. Okay, this is probably going to go for a little while. Yeah, we've got a lot of gunpowder in there. So we're just gonna let that go for a minute. I got a feeling this is going to end up breaking something. Because I'm almost positive that that's got the wrong item in it. Yeah, look right here. Flight duration 1, flight duration 2, so that did screw up there. Okay. So this, by slowing it down, yes, this is going to be so much more painful. And if you've got a major farm feeding this, it's not going to be producing rockets fast enough. And you'll probably like overflow this stuff. I think the thing that you would actually have to worry about here is actually the paper. I don't know how long it's going to take to get through all that. Uh, I'm trying to think, is there anywhere nearby that I have like a lava thing that we can dump that into? I don't think there's anything nearby. And that doesn't have overflow protection. Here, we'll just do it here. Just to get these out of my inventory. There we go. That's one way to do it. Unfortunately, that means we're very far away from this, so it's not actually running right now. But yeah, I definitely think that you would, with what I've seen with my own mob farm, you would probably run out of paper long before you ran out of gunpowder. I mean, the issue shouldn't matter which one you run out of. The issue is still there, but I got a feeling it'd be more likely to break if it runs out of gunpowder. Okay, so everything should shut off there. So we get an extra 2 ticks out of that because it didn't shut off in time. And that's because we put all this delay here. In retrospect, the delay may have been a little bit of a problem. So what I want to do here is I want to test with the gunpowder again. Again, I think that the paper would actually run out long before the gunpowder would. But considering that you have 3 slots of gunpowder, all right. Oh, we got that long delay down there. I don't think this is necessary anymore. Actually, that one is. We're just going to do that just in case. Okay. So now, yeah, so that's got. So we are low on gunpowder there, so let's do that. It filled it up, and it's already out of gunpowder. It's already out. Okay, put that in there. We'll activate, and it's out of. Okay, now it's out of gunpowder again. That's what I thought. We were going to get another one. Okay, it's fine so far. I ran out of gunpowder. I don't think it's going to break now. Because we're just not producing rockets fast enough. Yeah, I think producing them at a, like I was saying, redstone working at a slower pace is always better than fast. Because if you slow it down, it's not as likely to break. And see, what's interesting to me about this right now is every time we put the gunpowder in there at 8 a stack, we're not really getting that low on it. It's not making it faster because we changed to this much slower pace. It's staying pretty full now. It's not breaking, so it's not perfectly full, but it is staying close enough to full that we're not worried about it running out. Which means that all the slots are staying fine. So let's reverse. Oh God, I've got to stop doing this. I want to reverse this again and make sure because that seems to work really really well, slowing it down like that. And like I said, you're probably more likely to run out of paper before you do gunpowder. All right. And I don't think we're going to have an issue here either. Yeah, okay. And that's fine. Let's do one thing. We're gonna speed up the redstone clock just a hair, like just slightly faster. I don't think we're gonna force this thing to run out. But that faster speed means that before it shuts off, we should get a couple of other clicks through. However, from what I just saw, okay, it shut off again. All right, put that in there. Gunpowder fills up. The paper is staying it's actually staying fuller than I thought it would. But again, that's because we slowed the signal down. We're not like every like half tick producing rockets. It's not just now it's more like so it seems to be like exactly like I was saying. Like if we slow it down, we're not having an issue at all. And again, like I said, because of my experiments with the bone mill stuff over there, I know that the actually it's back that way. The sugarcane coming in to create paper is going to take a lot longer than the sheer amount of gunpowder you're going to get. You're going to get a lot more gunpowder than you will sugarcane for paper. A lot more. I kind of want to go ahead and set this up in my world, but I'd have to do a lot of things for it. And that's not part of what I want to do today. In fact, we're actually out of time for what I want to do today. I'm like well over because I took that whole hour at the beginning to go through and talk about everything that I've made. And that's literally just for anybody that's new to my channel, like just to see, like, oh, okay, so I've made this, and that. So redstone, I'm not an expert, but yes, I do know what I'm doing most of the time. Most of the time, this is the experiment right here, and like uh, like I've shown with those over there, as far as like using the crafter, like I know like the quirks of it and how it works and everything. So being able to make a system that automatically crafts something, cinch. You can do more complex ones that make multiple items. I don't see a reason why you would want to do that. Like this setup here, just to make dispensers, is a giant pain in the butt because there's also like something you don't really notice, and we did it on this, is there's redundancies. So in order to make sure that this doesn't run out of like string or sticks, it'll shut itself off so you can't produce any more bows. If you're not making bows, this is going to run out, which means we're going to take a signal from that and tell the system, hey, shut off, we're out of something. And that's what all these lights are for. As long as those lights are on, it's full. If any one of those lights turns off, you know you're out of something. Something is not being produced or it's run dry. Uh, like getting this hooked up to something else, like we could probably hook this up to, well, we'd have a problem with sticks. I don't know of any way to get a good amount of sticks, but I mean, you could do that with Witch Farm, but you're not going to get that many sticks from a witch farm. Um, yeah, you could hook this up to a cobblestone generator and a witch farm and probably produce all this. You'd also need a spider farm, which I don't see a major issue with that because spiders will spawn just about anywhere if you let them. So you could hook this whole system up to a farm and just endlessly produce uh, dispensers. That's the whole purpose of this. Is I'm kind of tired of crafting rockets, and I figured I would make my own auto rocket maker. But I needed to figure out some things, and this is obviously a mess of redstone going everywhere. We could condense this a little bit and move it around some so that we can like get the signal where we want it. Right now, this was just a prototype to see like what I need to do in order to get it to work. Like what is the bare minimum I've got to do to get this to work? Uh, Pretty much sums it up. But yeah, this actually this we finally got it working properly, and I've got no major issue with how this is going at the moment. In fact, we could probably I'd have to get out the wand. We could probably come over here to this and test it. We've already got this whole thing set up, so we could just run that and see what happens. I mean, I've got a sugarcane farm right here. I don't remember what this is producing though. Is it? Yeah, it's making paper. Oh no, we've already got. um. Apparently, I have already made this machine. We are disconnected. We're reconnected. So I just spent about 2 hours working on a system to automatically make rockets. And I've apparently already made that. I'm Natanis Likens.